Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to episode 71 of the Nindie Nation podcast. I'm Jeff, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Nindie Nation is your weekly dose of everything independently developed for the Nintendo Switch. As always, we'll take a look at every new indie game hitting the eShop over the next week, and after that, check out the deals to help you find the best Nindies at the best prices. This week, we're covering games and deals for June 27th through July 3rd, and even though we're a bit lighter than usual on the new releases, there's still plenty to talk about. Nindie Nation posts to podcast feeds on Monday as well as on YouTube, where you can see footage of every game covered. If you want to chat it up with us, you can find us on Twitter at Nindie Nation, and I'm always in the YouTube comments throughout the week, so don't be a stranger. Nindie Nation is brought to you by our friends at the Nintendo Village, your home for everything else Nintendo related, and you can find all of their content in one place at thenintendovillage.com. Now, before we look forward to next week, it's time to look back on the games that snuck out onto the eShop between last week's episode and this week's recording. There's always a couple of stinkers, you know, the Nindie no-nos, but this week we've got a couple that you don't want to miss. So let's get started by looking at the neglected Nindies released since episode 70. Back in the 90s, there was a 16-bit game called Hardcore, a classic run-and-gun title which was almost complete but then suddenly cancelled, never to see the light of day. 25 years later, the team at NN Games recovered the original source code and set out to finish the game for release on modern consoles. This week, that long-lost game has been released under the name Ultracore. The title is what you'd expect from what looks like a game originally developed for the Sega Genesis, but it's been modernized to include twin-stick controls and an optional new soundtrack. The only downside is that it launched for $22.99, which might be a bit on the steep side, but then again, it's not every day that you unearth a 25-year-old game and bring it back to life. Bloobar Team, the studio behind the acclaimed Layers of Fear series, has ported their previously Xbox-exclusive Blair Witch to the Switch, and it's probably a game you should check out if you're into the spookies. If you've seen the movie or anything from Layers of Fear, you should know what to expect, and the AAA level presentation definitely warrants the $27 price tag. Hexon was released by Cubite Interactive as the next 49-cent chill puzzle game. No idea what's going on here, but it looks kinda fun. When they inevitably bundle all of these games together, I'll take a closer look. And the one I'm most looking forward to discussing with you in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation is Death Come True by Izanagi Games and the creators behind Danganronpa. Now, Danganronpa is a visual novel/adventure game that is widely acclaimed, but Death Come True takes things in a whole different direction by making the choose-your-own-adventure visual novel a full-motion movie. You know, kinda like the Black Mirror Bandersnatch episode, but this one, it looks good. Well, it looks more like it's so bad it's good, like genuine B-movie thriller stuff, and each time you die, you get points for seeing that specific ending, which then unlocks new paths for your next attempt. Death Come True is a release I am very curious about, and it's only $15.99. Have any of you played it? There are only 2 Nindie no-nos this week. As a reminder, these are the shadow-dropped titles that I can under no circumstances recommend, and they include Cross Mitten, which looks like a PlayStation 1 tennis game without a net by Daydream Software for $14.99, and Being Stronger While Playing Silver Star Go DX by Silver Star for $39.99. It's the board game Go with a 30-year outdated presentation. Any Nindie Nation citizens out there fans of Danganronpa? Let me know if you're interested in Death Come True. I know I'm at least curious about Ultracore. The story alone makes me want to give it a go. I just love hearing about those long-lost games that are being completed and finally released. It's really exciting. Now that we've looked back, though, it's time to look forward. Next week is definitely slim pickings comparatively, but there's a few good options that we'll get into, so let's take a look at the 12 Nindies releasing from June 27th through July 3rd. Can I level with you about something? I never know about covering NIS. Nippon Ichi Software is a fairly large, publicly traded Japanese developer and publisher, but their American arm, NIS America, is significantly smaller. By definition, they might be an indie, but I've never known exactly how to classify this company. What do you think? I bring this up because on June 30th, they are releasing The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3, which is a highly anticipated third entry in a series that started way back on the PSP, and I know a lot of people who just love this franchise. I tried the original a long time ago, and I really just couldn't get into its overly complex grid and turn-based strategy, but I wish I had because I've heard the story is incredible. I feel the same way about the Disgaea series, which, coincidentally, is also published by NIS America. Anyways, this is a AAA caliber RPG with a AAA caliber $60 price tag. Maybe that in itself means we shouldn't cover NIS, but I'll let you, the listener, tell me if you think NIS should be considered an indie studio going forward. Also on June 30th is a retro pixel platformer called The StoryTale by developer Maxim Nureyev and Red Black Spade, both of which are new names to the eShop. The game features a fairy tale narrative and various spells that can be cast in addition to a bunch of different weapons too. It launches for $11.99, and as a first outing, it doesn't look too bad, if at least a bit generic. And on July 1st, the host of your favorite weekly Nindie podcast turns 1 year older. As a present, developer Opera House releases their $20 dating simulator called My Bewitching Perfume. Unfortunately, I guess I can't play it though because Opera House states that this is an
exciting love simulation for girls. It's the ultimate romance game for ladies who love handsome guys. Even though he's so disinterested in love, for just a moment, it's like he's been enchanted. It's all because of the perfume I made. He's a handsome Soshoku Danshi.
Wait, what's that mean? Soshoku Danshi, or herbivore men, is a term used in Japan to describe men who have no interest in getting married or finding a girlfriend. The term herbivore men was also a term that is described as young men who had lost their manliness. Noted. Moving on.
He's a handsome Soshoku Danshi who's had a bad experience in love that he's never been able to tell anyone. However, he suddenly turns into a Nikushoku Danshi.
I'm guessing that's the opposite.
The perfume I made has a dangerously seductive fragrance. Before we even realize it, it's caused him to abandon all reason.
Wait, this is a dating sim about drugging men? Thanks for the birthday present, Opera House. I hate it. On July 2nd, kicking off the big Thursday drop, the Otterman Empire is listed on the eShop for the third time now, still without a price. Tryhard Interactive has built a great Splatoon-like family-friendly shooter filled with otters and a system around jetpacks that is an absolute blast to play. I've played some of this in the past, and I'm supposed to be getting a full code for the final release soon, but I think the current world climate has been just a bit challenging to get this game out at the right time, which is understandable. Keep your eyes peeled here and on Twitter at Nindie Nation, because I'll be covering it if the Otterman Empire does indeed release this week. And yikes! Also on the 2nd is Infliction Extended Cut for $19.99 by Blowfish Studios and Caustic Reality. Oh man, this game looks scary. I'm getting serious PT and Paranormal Activity vibes. The screenshots alone are going to give me nightmares, and I am not looking forward to finding this trailer for the video version of this episode. It is probably a title worth considering though for you horror fans who like possession, demons, and a bit more narrative in your spookies. Poolside Story is the next $14 mobile time waster by Kairosoft Games, and this time you are tapping your way through a water park, it seems. Don't buy Kairosoft Games. They made one good game for the iPhone over a decade ago called Game Dev Story, and you can still get it now for free. Get that, try it out, but don't ever look back. It's kind of funny though, because Kairosoft turned into exactly what you're trying not to become when you play Game Dev Story. You know those little Astrobot robots that Sony uses in all of their new PlayStation tech like VR and the camera? Well, Next Studios and Post-Meta Games basically took that idea and made Biped, which is primarily a two-player 3D co-op adventure. It features a control scheme that has you controlling the robot's legs individually, which is cool, and every puzzle will require a good deal of communication. But it otherwise really does look like a lot of fun. If you've got a gamer to play this one with, Biped could be a fun way to spend some time together, and it launches on July 2nd for $14.99. Another spooky run from the monster game on July 2nd is Caretaker by Baris Taramcioglu for $7.99. You play as a reporter chasing a story about a factory worker who went crazy and killed a bunch of people, and again, this one is really spooky, but it doesn't look nearly as good as Infliction, which we just talked about, so I'll say stick with that one for your spooky of the week. Lastly, on the 2nd, Digirati is releasing 2 indie game bundles, and here's the thing. They're both crazy expensive, and one is definitely much better than the other. This just feels like they're priming the titles for a future sale, so pay attention, because if you don't own any of the games in these bundles, maybe throw the bundle itself on your wish list and wait for a sale. First up is the Indie Darling Bundle Volume 3, featuring Shikando, a great shmup, Nefarious, a decent platformer, Omega Strike, a decent Metroidvania, and 1979, an interactive drama. The bundle is launching for $50, which is way too much, and I don't really think this collection is all that great. However, the other bundle is billed as the Couch Co-op Bundle Volume 2, and this one's solid. You get Bleed, a wonderful action platformer featured in our Nindies We Love series, Vertical Drop Heroes, a platformer which I love, made a Let's Play for, and features procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. Black Paradox, one of my preferred side-scrolling shoot-em-ups, and Shikando once again. This bundle is $45, which is still way too much, but if this one hits $10 or less, and I think it will, pick it up then. Last but not least, we have 4 new Nindies dropping on July 3rd. Ghost Grab 3000 is a pretty fun-looking arcade game by Matt Glanville for $4.49. You move around a 2D plane and grapple onto an enemy, leaving a beam behind you that you must then use to touch as many other enemies on the screen at once before you blow them all up. It looks really cool, and I think I'm going to try this one out. Matt Glanville isn't done yet, though, because he's got a second game releasing on the 3rd that, I'm sorry, it looks like an 8-bit version of just one of the minigames included in Wii Party. In Singled Out, you are given a list of facial features to look for, and you use a sniper cursor to pick the right face out of a crowd. Maybe it's just me here, but I'm not sure a game about shooting people based on their looks alone, where you lose if you shoot the wrong person, is, well, never mind. Singled Out is $4.49, and I'll say pass, but do consider Ghost Grab. And if there's ever a reason for podcast listeners to watch the episodes on YouTube, it's Infamy by Barnacle. This $12 game? It claims to have been a runner-up in a couple of indie festivals, but like, are you seeing this? You move a naked dude around some 8-year-old's Microsoft Paint acid trip, and there's portals? And sometimes naked angels? The hell is this? Oh man, there's a demo. I might have to try this one out. I'll say for the record, it does not look good, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong. And finally, Clash Force is an 8-bit run-and-gun game by Spicy Gyro Games and published by Ratalaika. Or is it Spicy Euro Games? We're gonna say Spicy Euro Games. While it doesn't appear to do anything special, I gotta say, it's given me some serious vibes of the old Bucky O Hare video game. Let me know in the comments if any of you are familiar with said Bucky O Hare game. It was great. And if Clash Force is as much of an homage as it seems like it is, this could be great too. I'll get a code for this one and try it out and let you know before you shell out $5. Love me some Bucky O Hare.
In another dimension, another time and space, a parallel universe is falling on its face. When out of the chaos, who else could it be? Bucky Animal Adventurers from SPACE! Bucky! Captain Bucky O Hare!
What do you think? Did I miss anything? If we're counting NIS games, Trails of Cold Steel 3 is easily the pick of the week because fans of that series have been chomping at the bit for this one. If not, I'll say the Ottoman Empire, but I'm not too sure that game is actually coming out this week, so maybe we'll just say Ultracore is the pick of the week, even though it technically came out a day before I recorded this. Let me know what you're picking up in the comments below or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. Okay, there were some great deals last week, and some of those, like Children of Morta and Cosmic Star Heroine, are still active. Many until June 30th, and some all the way until July 14th. But otherwise, with 529 games currently on sale, here are our picks for the best deals available through at least July 3rd. So, last week we talked about Tawaga Among Shadows by Forever Entertainment, and I've been playing it a bunch. It's a twin-stick shooter where you mostly stay stationary, and it's got a bunch of roguelike or upgrade mechanics, and honestly, I've fallen in love with it. Here's the thing though, I think it's too expensive, and I, by the way, got my copy for free. It's included with the $5 a month Apple Arcade, which you can play with a controller, but it looks and plays incredibly well on the Switch, and I really can't stop playing it. I do think it's maybe only 5 hours long, which also makes it hard to recommend for its $14.99 MSRP, but right now it's at least on sale for $13.49. If you've got funds burning a hole through your digital pocket and you're itching for a pick-up-and-play arcade game, I can't recommend it highly enough. Otherwise, you should probably wait for a better sale. I'm trying though, citizens. I contacted the team at Forever Entertainment and provided this same feedback and let them know that I think $7 to $10 is the right price, so I'll let you know if they appreciated the unsolicited feedback. And in the meantime, I'm probably going to do a Let's Play for this one because I really want more people to check it out. So that was more of a mini review, I guess, than a deal suggestion, but I just had to get that off my chest. If you like Contra, go pick up Biolab Wars for only 49 cents. It's a great take on the 8-bit Contra games, and a game I liked enough to make a Let's Play for it over on the YouTube channel. The game will only take about an hour to beat, but there are multiple characters, 2-player co-op, and difficulty options to warrant a second, third, or fourth playthrough. It's definitely worth 49 cents. Mercenaries Saga is one of, if not the best game for fans of Final Fantasy Tactics or similar grid and turn-based RPGs on the Switch, and it's currently half off for $7.49. Do act fast though, because Mercenaries Saga's discount is one that expires at the end of the day on July 2nd. Way of the Passive Fist is the kind of game you should buy if you're just in the mood for something quick and entertaining and don't mind blowing your gold coins on it. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up with great pixel art and a fun, humorous tone that at times plays a bit more like a fighting game. It's not incredible, and there are far more better beat-em-ups on the system, but it is 90% off for only $1.49, and I think anybody can appreciate the game for that price. Ultimate Chicken Horse is one of the funniest multiplayer games and works just as well online as it does on the couch. It's 40% off, which is an all-time low, for $8.99 and basically works like the basketball game Horse. You develop a morbidly difficult level, kind of like a crazy hard Mario Maker course, and if you make it through untouched, your opponent has to do so as well, otherwise you get the point. If you've never watched people play this game on YouTube or Twitch, I highly recommend it. It's colorful, it's hilarious, but it is very violent as you're placing all kinds of traps all over that will mangle your adorable pixelated farm animals, so it's not for kids. Check it out if you've got someone to play it with. Streets of Rogue is a great game for the right person. If you like top-down roguelikes, you'll probably like this one, and what it brings to the table is pretty cool as each character has a completely different gameplay style. In some runs, you'll fight everyone you come across, and sometimes you'll be able to talk your way up the entire progression system. There's a lot to like here, but it does have a very twitchy control scheme like Monospark, which I kinda consider a downside. Otherwise, it's full of charm and offers a ton of variety. Streets of Rogue is currently half off for $10. Oh, and it comes complete with procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements. If you like the notion of trying over and over to clear out a room of enemies perfectly, then you'll love Party Hard. This one's a lot like Hotline Miami. Top down, sneak into a room, take everyone out, and escape before you're caught. That old chestnut. There's multiple characters, and the general premise is that you're killing everyone because they're partying at 3 AM and your character is just trying to sleep, and I think that's hilarious. Party Hard is currently half off for only $7.49. The Bleed Complete bundle is back on sale, 90% off for only $4.19, and I implore any fan of action platformers to pick this one up immediately. If you like Mega Man, Ninja Gaiden, Azure Striker, Bleed isn't necessarily like those, but you'll probably enjoy the fast-paced bullet time approach that combines melee and gun combat just the same. Both games are wonderful in their own right, as they both have slightly different approaches to the gameplay and progression, which makes it worthwhile to play through both of them. At $2 per game or $4.19 for the entire Bleed Complete bundle, that makes this deal my pick of the week. Here's a callback. Does anyone remember Elite Beat Agents for the DS? It was a music or rhythm-based game where you tap buttons to the beat of prompts that play out over basically music videos. Well, if you liked that, you'll love Old School Musical, which is basically the same premise but with original music that takes you through the history of video games, touching on every bit of nostalgia that any longtime gamers will have. It's a great title and the music is really good. Actually might use the music for the podcast bumpers this week. Old School Musical is currently half off for $6.99. And finally, a very simple game that nails the retry mechanic perfectly and is fun for just about anyone. Miles & Kilo is an auto runner, so your goal is to run, jump, slide, and grab items without bumping into anything. And as far as the fidelity, performance, and general design of games like this, it doesn't really get any better than Miles & Kilo, and the game is currently 80% off for only $1.59. Let me know if I missed anything this week, but I think we covered a pretty good range of titles here. I had to stop myself from picking just a bunch of twin-stick roguelikes and shmups because there's a bunch of those on sale right now too. I figure some of us may be busy with the upcoming holiday weekend, so I looked more towards games that are easy to pick up and play and can keep you busy for the weekend as you have time for a quick gaming break. As always, let me know what you're picking up in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at Nindie Nation. With that, this is the point where roughly 75% of you bail on the episode. YouTube analytics are killer sometimes. Either way, thanks for joining us today, getting involved in the conversation, and of course, any form of sharing Nindie Nation with other fans of indie games is always appreciated. This week was a bit lighter, but I can tell you that next week we are coming in hot, as July is bringing some of the best Nindies of the year, and I cannot wait to dig in deeper. Nindie Nation posts to YouTube and podcast feeds on Monday, and if you're over on the YouTube channel, don't forget we've got a bunch more for you to check out. Let's Plays, reviews, and the Nindies We Love series, which are dedicated to digging a little bit deeper into the games keeping our Joy-Cons synced. If you're looking for more Nintendo content, Nindie Nation is brought to you by our friends at the Nintendo Village, and they are dropping daily content including news, features, reviews, as well as weekly videos and more podcasts like Nintendo Nostalgia, which I just adore. You can find everything they publish over at thenintendovillage.com, and we thank them for their support. And thank you, once again, for checking out Nindie Nation and continuing to come back week after week. These last couple of months have been very exciting as the listeners and YouTube channel continue to grow. I'll remember and continue to appreciate each and every one of you as we approach the next level of Nindie Nation. Like I said, we've got an excellent July coming up, with plenty of big-name indies headed to the eShop, but we'll kick that off next week. Until then, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 71, and through thick or thin, rain or shine, we'll be right here to help you find just the Nindie to keep your Joy-Cons synced.